Good Thursday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get over for business here. And let's wake up those football guys. What's up, guys? Can you smile down upon this Dallas Cowboys team for us? Can you help a brother out? That's all I'm asking for. I hope everybody is excited on this Thirsty Thursday, because I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but tonight is the Hall of Fame game. Hall of Fame game. Last year at this time, me and Game Time Brian had drove right on up there to Ohio and were there at the Hall of Fame game. I can't believe it's been a year, Brian. Brian, let me start this off this morning in saying, if you want to know the biggest secret, Jobu, if you want to know the biggest secret there is about YouTube, okay? The biggest secret there is, and you can take it from me or not take it from me. There you go, Joe Boo. Lean against the mic. Hard work. That's the biggest secret there is. And that's true on just about everything. So many times people want to just have everything or expect everything to be handed to them. I think what it is people look, because the generation that we've created, because we wanted things to be easier and better for our kids, where when you played sports, they said, here you go, Johnny. Here's your participation trophy. You were great. No, Johnny, you sucked. You sucked. You're not going to be a football star. And that's the way it is. And it's okay, because you might be really, really smart, and you might end up creating an app that makes you billions. But everybody expects shit to be handed to them. People think, oh, well, I'll buy some equipment and I will, boom, put up my sign up on YouTube and I'm going to be a success. That's not how it works. Game Time Brian is a perfect example of this. I put him in the Mark Holmes school of YouTube, because when we were driving up to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, just him and me, I missed having my whole crew together like we did a few years before with the RV. And FYI, 2 years from now, Game Time, Richard, who's a Steeler fan, he wants to definitely go to Pittsburgh. But Game Time was saying, I just hope I can get to 300 subscribers 1 year ago. And here we are, after going to the Mark Holmes School of YouTube and getting hated by a lot of Eagle fans and stuff, he sits here at 30,000 subscribers. The secret is you got to put in the work. It's not going to be handed to you. You have to be able to feed the masses. You have to give people what they want. You got to bust your ass if you want to achieve. Because if you don't, you ain't getting shit out of anything. And that's the lesson that so many of you young people need to understand. There's opportunities out there, but if you're sitting around on your fat ass and doing woe is me, I don't know why, this person is being successful and I'm not getting shit, because you're not putting in the work. That's the bottom line. You must put in the work. And shout out to you, Game Time. He's putting in the work between first thing in the morning doing a video on his way to work to lunchtime, giving up his lunch to spend time with you guys, and then live streaming night after night after night. That's what it takes. That's what it takes to be successful. And I showed you that clip. Oh man, I'm going to keep that clip of training camp there, because see, that's what you want to see. You want to see temperatures flare. And this is the reason why I say you want to see it. Because yesterday, I was on the road most of the day yesterday, so I'm just getting some of the highlights and lowlights and stuff today, okay? You know, I'm trying to bust my ass because I've got today, tomorrow, and Saturday, and then come Sunday, I'll fly on out there and see for myself this Dallas Cowboys team. But they had day number 2 of padded practices, okay? Today is an off day because now your legs are shot. They feel like Jell-O. You're weak in the knees. You're getting tired, okay? And that's when you have temperatures flare. When you've been put to the test, you've been beat on, you've been yelled at, you've been flustered, and you want to take it out. To me, that says that the coaching staff is doing the right thing of challenging the players. Now, here's the thing. Things have changed so much. When I grew up, you never heard anything about training camp. Fans weren't allowed to go to training camp. You didn't know what the camp battles were. You didn't know how many interceptions were thrown. You didn't know dick. Brian Broaddus responded to somebody on Twitter. I love this. For all the various video clips posted during the first week of practice, I've never seen more disappointing Cowboys team since before Tony Romo show up. This is going to be a trash season, in my opinion. Now, see, here's the thing. If you're just taking a couple of clips and trying to decide if this is after the first or second padded practice, out of context, because everybody's going to make mistakes, because we in here talking about practice right now, okay? And practice is where you make perfect. Practice is where you're getting guys on the field for the first time. Practice is where you're challenging players and trying to figure out what works and what do we need to just rip out of the playbook. That's why it's practice, you know?
We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen.
We talk about practice, okay? Brian Broaddus' response to this is, don't get me wrong, I appreciate the clips. A lot of hardworking guys and gals, but they only tell part of the story, and that is the truth. So when we go through and we analyze 1 or 2 clips of a player, that's not necessarily the totality of everything that they've done. Okay, so let me preface this with that first, okay? Now, when you start to see a pattern, you remember last year, they literally were doing an interception count on Dak Prescott in practice, okay? Because there was the interceptions. It's funny how interceptions are no longer a problem in the NFL, that the only interception watch was Dak Prescott, even though Jalen Hurts had the same number of interceptions that Dak Prescott had, even though last year Jalen Hurts had a fumbling problem, and they literally had fumbling drills where they were beating him with the broom. They ain't watching practice to say how many times he's fumbled or intercepted the ball, do they? Oh, no, that's only a Dallas Cowboy thing. If a Cowboy player does it, then we got to watch it. We've got to go ahead and pick at that scab and make it bleed. Everybody else, that's good. It's good. Oh, it's good. Be that as it may, we were looking, or some people were praying, that Trey Lance was going to be the answer and moving on from Dak Prescott. That was the hope. And it may be the gamble by the Cowboys saying, you know, it's a 4th round draft pick. Maybe, you know, Dak was a 4th round draft pick. Maybe we're just lucky with 4s. And we bring this guy in here. He all of a sudden gets a, you know, new atmosphere, new coaching and things. Mike McCarthy's been great with working with, you know, San Francisco quarterbacks and drafting them and making Hall of Famers and everything else. Maybe Mike McCarthy can turn this guy around. Thus far, where people were looking for him possibly to challenge Dak Prescott for the starting role, you have to wonder if he's actually able to challenge Cooper Rush for the backup role. Now, again, to preface what I just said about taking a couple of clips and trying to determine exactly what you see. You're taking it out of context. But with that being said, though, it seems to be this is more of a pattern where we've seen not just interceptions, but bad interceptions and just seeming to be lost. And with Trey Lance, and I'm not here to soil Trey Lance, I'm hoping that Trey Lance, because you want everybody on your team to be able to be as good as the starter. You need them to, because there's no guarantee that anybody is going to be able to make it through a season. And so you want that talent to come through. But Trey Lance has got a lot of work to do. Here's one of the clips yesterday that you look at this and you say, who was he throwing to? Marquez Bell? That's a complete misread. There wasn't even that looked like Neil O'Donnell in the Super Bowl against us. That's bad. Here's another one. Now, I'm going to say one thing that I have noticed, that undrafted UFL player Harvey, linebacker, is seeming to be making some plays, some really good plays on the field, and actually makes me feel better. Now the other flip side on this is that people don't take into account is that the Dallas Cowboys defensive backfield, regardless of what Philly 500 says that the Eagles are better. I don't know what he's putting in his cigar, but you know.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
I don't know what he's putting in his cigars and anything else, but sorry, bro, that ain't it. The Cowboys secondary is really good. So you're going to see mistakes being made or plays that are going to be made by them. And I'm excited because I see that everybody's going after it. Now, Dak Prescott, yesterday, they said he was incredible with his throws, that he seems to be, mid-season form. It's great to see that going on right now. And looking at the defense, I'm trying to see if I've got this clip. Let's see. See if I have the clip of. Hold on. I think this is, right here. This is a clip of I think this is a clip of Mozzie. Maybe. Well, let's see if this is the right one. No, this is good. That was the bad throw. Sorry, that was the bad throw. I think this is it. Now this is hard for you guys to see, but Mozzie is taking on the double team, and he's eating it up. Mozzie doesn't look sloppy fat. Mozzie looks big. He looks muscular, and he looks like he's ready to go. Let me see if I can get this again. I think what I'll do is I'll take these clips and I will, zoom in on them and bring you some better shots of it. But he's taking on the double team and he's holding the ground. He only gets pushed back about a yard. He's still a little bit high, but you can see the strength that he has. He needs to get lower, but you're beginning to see him beginning to turn things around, and you have to be excited about that. We've got all kinds of great things that are going on in training camp. Like I said, the question right now is, Trey Lance, is he going to be able to be that dude? Now, I want to go back as we get ready to get out of here. I'm going to be over working on that kitchen today and things, and then I may live stream the Hall of Fame game. I don't know. I might do that. I maybe just to get a taste of live streaming and watching football. Put in the comments if you want to join in on that, be part of it. Maybe we'll do it as a member Zoom call and stuff. In fact, maybe I'll get in touch with Game Time Brian and see. Then we can make it a Cowboys talk and conversation, watching the game. You know, it's not really a game, but we'll go through and do that, and we'll see. Also, too, we've got something new that we're going to be doing with the Joe Boo Sports Report. We've got a sponsor that is definitely going to be beneficial to you guys as well. I'll have more on that later on today, but definitely I appreciate the sponsorship and look forward to working with them. Now, as I get ready to go through with ESPN, because you know how I roll around here, okay? It's funny how the talking shows, I think that they're beginning to lose some of their shine. And I think they're actually in the process of beginning to change it a little bit. And we'll see, you know, Skip Bayless, this is his last month. Here we are on August 1st of being on Undisputed. Who knows what it's going to do after this. But I want to remind you of one of the things that was quoted by Dan Orlowski.
Can take numbers and skew them any way we want. We often can take numbers and we'll fit them into the narrative that we want to try and paint. And I probably am guilty of this.
Yeah, that we're trying to get a narrative. Now, I also want to remind you, because one of the quotes that I love is Denzel saying, those who can do, those who can't talk about those who can. So can you or can you not? And remind you, this is the Dan Orlowski highlight of his career. So that guy is the one who is giving you all the lowdowns and trashing other players. Just putting that out there as a reference point. Let's go to the tape.
A lot of eyes on Green Bay. Always a lot of eyes on Dallas.
Always.
So, Danny, if I were to say Dak Prescott and the Cowboys will win a playoff game this year, would that be right or wrong?
I'll say wrong. One, because right now I don't have the Cowboys as a playoff football team. And I think there's a lot on the rookies that are on this football team. Maybe at left tackle, maybe at center. You know, this is a team that has three guys that want new contracts. CeeDee Lamb is the guy that's at least most pressing now, that's not even a part of camp. So there's a lot of questions around the Dallas Cowboys right now.
Yeah, there are many. And so I want to put this up here. So the other day, Dan is here and we're talking, and it was a very off the top of our heads kind of extemporaneous conversation. And he started listing, you both were on the show on the same day. We were all together Tuesday. And just sort of in conversation, Dan off the top of his head listed the five best quarterbacks in the NFC. And we'll just put up on the screen what he said. It was Stafford, then Jordan Love, then Brock Purdy, then Kirk Cousins, then Jared Goff. And immediately all of us said, well, how about Dak Prescott? So, again, Dan, that was an off-the-cuff conversation.
Yeah.
Do you believe Dak Prescott belongs on that list of the top five quarterbacks in the NFC?
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything with the top five, Greeny. I mean, so weird. This isn't weird. Okay, so two things. One, I have said this for the last 2 years. Stop asking for top five. This is the top five quarterbacks from 15 years ago. It's really top 8 now. Top 10, it's really top 15 or top 16 now. There's too many good quarterbacks in the NFL for us to just put a top five. The only thing that I would really change, honestly, I probably would switch Jared and Kirk. Okay, like
that's the adjustment we're making. That's the adjustment we're making. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Here's my thing. I honestly don't understand how everyone's freaking out about this. If we want to be objective, I would switch Jared and Kirk. Kirk and Dak, I'd have a conversation over. Guys, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott. Okay, if you look at like their last 34 starts, when it comes to 2 full seasons, their numbers are relatively similar. They're kind of the same guy. They're good players that have moments of really good play. And I would probably put Jared in there over Dak because I have more belief and trust in him in big games, like really big-time playoff games. Kirk and Dak, like that would be a conversation. Jalen, it's hard for me to put in the top 5 right now coming off of the season that he just had when he played pretty poorly for more than half of that year.
What
Who are you taking out?
I only say this because I know that Dan wouldn't mind and be transparent, but like 24 hours after we have this conversation, Dan texts me and he says, by the way, you saying you take Dak over Stafford or Purdy or Goff or Love is drunk. Like he was still thinking about it the next day. He doesn't.
I don't think
he's a freaking idiot.
I mean, I understand you have some hot takes at times, but like I get that. But this one is just so surprising to me. Dak Prescott is not in your top 5 in the conference. Dan.
Well, Jeff, but this is my point. We are in a different era in the NFL nowadays. Because when you say he's not in my top 5 in the conference, he automatically, well, the guy stinks. And it's like, no, dude, this isn't 1995 when there's only like 6 good quarterbacks. There's 15 good to really good quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm not putting him above Matthew.
You were never one of them.
I can't put him above Jordan just the way that I think because I think Jordan's trajectory is this right now. And I watched those last 9 games. I did.
Did you watch what about the last interception? You said something about having trust in big games.
Terrible decision.
But he is a kid. Look, I mean, if I were to, I don't know that I agree with Dan, but if I were to make a list of the 5 quarterbacks I think are going to have the best seasons coming up in the NFC, which is an entirely different conversation from who's the best. Who's the best is, if you were to drop them, if we were to have a draft tomorrow and you could just pick them all regardless of context, that's who's the best. If you ask me who are going to have the best seasons, then I can see a lot of logic and a lot of these things. Because look at the weapons these guys have. Look at the trajectory.
But Kirk Cousins, come on.
We're taking it a little bit on faith that what we saw in the second half of last season will continue. I actually see those numbers. Purdy, if he loses Brandon Ayuk, we might have a different conversation. What does D Wood go?
Those 16 games that we saw Dak play.
It was unbelievable.
I mean, are we just like people have amnesia about that?
He had a better season than Jordan Love.
Did it not happen? I just don't understand. I think everything that when we talk about Dak Prescott, everything is so much predicated on the postseason. The whole narrative with Dak Prescott is, well, what did he do in the playoffs? What did he do in the playoffs? Are we just going to completely discount what this man did in the regular season?
But
we can't do that. We can't do that with Dak Prescott. Let me ask you this question: if we switch Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy, put them on different teams, you think Brock Purdy will have the same season in Dallas? Nope. No.
I mean, I don't have any way of knowing that. But I would agree with Dan to the extent that we do judge quarterbacks based on their postseason performance. And Jordan Love did go into that building and annihilate. Now, again, he annihilated the Cowboys defense, but Dak had a very bad day. Go ahead, Dan.
But we judge Dak in that regard nowadays, and that's a credit to Dak. He's played himself into that. There's probably 8 or 10 or so guys that we only judge about how they perform in the playoffs when it comes to exactly who they are because they've earned that right. This is not Dan Orlovsky hates Dak Prescott. Dak's a good to really good quarterback. I've said that. I don't think he's better than Matthew. I don't think he's better than Jordan Love right now. I do not believe he's better than Brock Purdy. Jared Goff is a couple drops away from
coming off of Achilles? Like
that's the one.
You taking Kirk Cousins over Dak Prescott coming off of Achilles?
I think Cousins could have a monster year too.
That's the one I can sit here and understand an argument from. I've always been higher on Kirk Cousins than other people. Dude, Jared Goff is 2 or 3 drops away from taking 2 teams to the Super Bowl in a 5-year span.
Yeah. And by the way, Kirk Cousins is going to have a monster year. And I'm up against the clock here. This obviously is a conversation that has a lot of legs. We'll come back to it.
Here's the thing that's funny, okay? Here's the thing that's funny. I'm going to put this up here. I just want to end this morning with this, okay? Because, we got the top 100 and everything else. CeeDee Lamb is the highest rated Dallas Cowboy on the list. CeeDee Lamb is an absolute positive beast. But guess what? CeeDee Lamb ain't doing that with a different quarterback. Sorry. 92 yards. 92 yards of the numbers that he got, okay, 92. That's almost a 17th of it was because of this play. And if Dak Prescott does not make this play, he doesn't have as many catches, as many TDs, as many as everything else.
Now third down,
So,
13 blitz coming.
Third and 13.
Prescott able to get out of the end zone, and now airs it out for Lamb. He's got it. He's gone. When he gets there, it's a touchdown, Cowboys.
So let me ask you on that one. Who did all the work on that play? Who did all the work on that play? Who was the guy who had to duck and cover, keep his eyes downfield, shift around in the pocket, and find you for a walk-in TD? I'm not saying that CeeDee wasn't part of the season they had. You need both. As the great Roger Staubach said, it didn't matter how good a pass I threw if Drew Pearson doesn't catch it, which is true. And for everybody out there saying how great CeeDee Lamb is, and he is great, you got to recognize that just taking CeeDee and putting anybody else there. You think Cooper Rush is making that play? Do you think Trey Lance is making that play? I don't know. I really don't think so. And that's the thing that drives me crazy with people is they just think that CeeDee Lamb was throwing the football to himself. That Dak is just straight garbage. He's a bum like Dan Orlowski. And it gets to be annoying at some point that you recognize and say, you know what? We got a guy who can do that. Why don't we go through and do everything to help that get to the Super Bowl? We got the hardest position covered on the roster. We got a great combination with CeeDee and Dak. Why don't we supplement all this and really do some great things? As always, people, you know I appreciate y'all, and I can't wait. Today, football is back. Whew. I don't have my other clock over here. I don't even know how many days it is. We're in the mid-30s, I believe. I got to get used to looking down here at this one. Football's back, and I couldn't be happier. All right, good people, I will see y'all soon.
As always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, have fun!